One of the very first things I would like you to do for this class is to open up that linked syllabus that you can find through the course documents folder on Brightspace. And that syllabus contains a ton of different information, some of it much more important than others. I'd like you to pay particular attention to how to get in touch with me on page 1. I've got my email there. Take note that my email contains both my first initial and my second initial along with my last name, so it's tadaniels@ferrum.edu. I've got my phone number if you need to text me, that is totally fine. So make sure you know how to do that. On pages 7 and 8, I have a pretty clear list of all the different assignments we will be doing throughout the semester, along with what all those assignments entail. Following that, from page 9 to the end of the syllabus, I've got a weekly schedule, and that weekly schedule kind of gives you an idea of what we'll be doing every single day. And I've tried to be very clear in terms of what is going to happen on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So just by way of example, let's take a look at week 2. Week 1's a little bit iffy because it's the first week, but week 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they're all going to be the same in terms of structure. So every Monday by 5 o'clock, I'd like you to finish a portion of reading in the textbook. The textbook itself, it's free, as I mentioned. It's not the best world history textbook out there, but again, it's free. By skimming information in the textbook, you'll be able to familiarize yourself with names and events and timelines so that when you dig into the lectures or when you dig into the primary source readings, they aren't totally unfamiliar to you. On Mondays, I also want you to watch anywhere between 1 and 3 videos that I will have linked. More often than not, they come from a series that's called Crash Course Videos. Those videos tend to target more high school age students, and they are a little lowbrow, but they're just another way of delivering a lot of that content so that these people who lived in a totally different place than we do 4,000 or 5,000 years ago become a bit more familiar to us. On Tuesdays, I will have linked in Brightspace on the weekly tabs videos that are presentations just like this one on Google Slides, and I'd like you to go through them. So for week 2, there are 3 presentations. One is on early Indus Valley civilizations, especially the Harappans. One is on the rise of Buddhism in India. One is on the development of the Mauryan Empire. So obligation on Tuesdays is to go through online lectures. On Wednesdays, I'm going to give you some primary sources to read. And a primary source is something that was created by the people we are studying in the time period we're studying. So for second week, you're going to read some stuff that comes from 2 really important texts from Vedic people, the Rig Veda and the Mahabharata. You'll read a really short excerpt of some of the fundamental ideas of Buddhism, the 4 Noble Truths. And then I've got some edicts or some laws that were developed by a Mauryan empire named Ashoka. And you'll see just below the links in the syllabus, for this example, I'm on page 10, that I also have some guiding questions. So rather than just giving you these primary sources and saying, hey, read them, I also want you to be able to answer some things as you go through. So if you take a look at those guiding questions before you start reading, and as you read, you scribble down some notes or think about how you might be able to remember them, then you're going to set yourself up for success on Thursday and Friday in any given week. On Thursdays, I'm going to have you complete a quiz. Those quizzes are 20 questions. They are drawn from a bank of, I don't know how many, lots of other questions. And anything that's covered in my Google Slides lectures, in any of the readings, both primary and secondary sources, in the crash course videos, is fair game on those quizzes. Now, I want to say a couple of things about these quizzes. One is you can take them as many times as you want, and only the highest score is recorded. So that means it might be good for you to go through kind of quickly on the first one and spend as much time or as little time as you want answering them. The other thing to keep in mind is that these quizzes are totally open book and open notes. So that means that you can go back, look at the textbook, you can take a look at your notes, you can re-watch videos, you can go back into the Google Slide lectures, and you can track down the information. So between the opportunity to take them as many times as you want and the opportunity to use all the resources for the class, you should be able to do really well on these quizzes. They're each worth 4 points. There's 7 of them total. So between a quarter and a third of the overall course grade comes from these quizzes. It's a real easy way to bolster your final grade. These quizzes are going to be made available every Tuesday at midnight, I guess Monday at midnight, Tuesday 12:01 a.m., and they're due Thursday by 5 p.m. So that means that you've got 41 hours to get them done. For the first 3 weeks, I'm also going to include those tutorials that I referenced a little bit earlier, something that talks through how to really dig into the primary sources and how to set yourself up for success on the writing assignment that's due on Friday. So for week 2, Friday the 1st of July, by 5 o'clock, you've got an analytical response that has to tick all the boxes of the requirements. It needs to be at least 500 words. It needs to include a word count and an interesting title at the top. And it needs to, most importantly, answer the questions I pose to you using evidence from those primary sources and other things that we've done in class to answer the question well. Okay, that's maybe a bit longer than I intended here, but I think it gives you a good idea of what we're going to do every single week.